That'd be pretty fun. But yeah, so yeah. All right, so yeah, if you submit to the final and you get approved, then you get to be part of that special party, and we can play some game like that. And then yeah, I also want to like start doing like a giveaway of some sort. I was talking about that on the last stream. So I'll figure out what to do for the finalies and shit like that, but also just giving out something like monthly or whatever. Just have like a cipher, and I guess people can vote, and then we can pretty much deem somebody victorious, and then I give them a plugin that I bought for him. Something of that sort. Also talking to other like plugin companies for shit, so that would also be a cool incentive for other things like that. If I can get some of those like mini little coupons for stuff, for like some of those really interesting plugins. So that'll be fun. So we're gonna try for that and shit. It's gonna be cool. Okay, so let me drink some water here. Also, yeah, we're going to be having like another like AV set along with everything. So definitely want to get that together. And then I think I'm going to try to compile like all the tracks into like a mix and then make a Church of Sound Design SoundCloud. And then put that up there. And we can link everybody else's SoundCloud through that and get everybody some visibility, I guess. And then, because I have outlets where I can push stuff, I guess. So I can help get that some visibility and push that. Yeah. So that'd be cool. Because this is like the more intermediate spot, I guess. We're not going to like start doing that from like Synth 101. So this is kind of moving into the 201, 301. So like in like a real course, it would be done after 201. And then 301 is going to be like the extracurricular large brain shit, I guess. Depending on how big you want to expand your brain, how much room you have. Yeah, it's pretty hype, right? I was just thinking about it. I was like, hey, that'd be fun. But yeah, I have it all listed out in a notebook. I wrote it down. So it should happen. It's usually how it happens. I list it out, write it down, and I'm like, all right. Hence this whole school in general. Okay, so all right. So yeah, let's start out making this track now. Let's just get into it. So let's I think we can just use like mostly faceplant and shit. We can also use Serum. So I don't want to waste any time today synthesizing kicks and snares for this track. So I'm not going to focus too much on that. If the inspiration does arise for it, I will move towards that. But pretty much like what I want to start doing right now is I want to like kind of write down an idea. I want to get inspired by a sound. I want to start filling out something that's going to be like somewhat organic. Because when I approach tracks, there's a lot of different ways I achieve a different finished product. So if I'm thinking about like more of a DJ track, I'll probably start on something that's more of a loop, maybe a sample, and then try to move it towards the drop as quick as possible. So it's more of a DJ tool, like something I can just quick mix into, you know, within 8 bars maybe, and then it just like is at full power. Um, I guess I can quickly show you an example of that from my own music. I'm not gonna spam you with SoundCloud on the picture here. Okay, so on my last album, definitely had a couple different tracks that were approached differently, and you know they both get equally rinsed out. So this track, actually, let me bring this on screen now. So this track, Metamorph here, this is more of an ambient kind of like start, where I was thinking like I want to create kind of more imagery and a lot of melodic movement to it. So like the melodic movement, that really all came from this intro. So like what ended up happening with this whole session in general was I sat down and was like, I'm gonna write some ambient sounds. And I ended up making like a Reese or like some kind of drone or whatever. And then I started recording that, which was just some random notes, and I was just playing in a key. And then I ended up kind of like modulating down until I got to this point. So this was not like written in. This was just me jamming. So like that part right there, I'm just like holding one note and I'm just like smacking random notes on my right hand. So pretty much this entire jam led up into this like one line here. And then I just literally looped it. And then I actually resynthesized what I ended up kind of finalizing as kind of like the vibe of this. I guess I'll play All right. So yeah. So pretty much I'm just kind of like exploiting that one earworm that I found at the end of my meandering little jam. And then I really liked how I was just like holding that note and just doing that there when I was listening back through the recording. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to make this just like a really tense build up. So it's just if there's gonna be no energy built through like percussion, then it's gonna be through frequency. So the brighter something is, the more energy it has. The darker something is, the less it has. So that's kind of like where it comes from here. And then we have more dynamic movement and stuff. So I also bring in the sub here as well. I'm like kind of filtering in and out. So that's kind of what's going on here. And I'm pre-DJing this like this intro in order to make the build up kind of work just in general to feel like a build up. And then I did synthesize one just long like one note riser patch in Serum. And that's this like the thing that's like so that ticking sound in the background or fluttering sound, that was all that. And then it's just kind of like I literally just drew one automation curve on a macro just going up, speeding it up. And then it's really fast. And then I just bring it back at different spots. So it's all like the same kind of like unreverbed out recording I brought back in here, just to give it, you know, that the balance of what I found in the intro. So pretty much what I do here though is I'm like finding one ear candy, earworm motif, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And then I'm repeating that as many different times as possible until I don't get bored and like change it up enough where I like it also has room and, grows sonically. And I guess, with its, just like the level of loudness in it as well. It's pretty easy just to go and pick and choose like where you want to go and mix this in at. So you can actually just like filter it in right here or whatever. Or if you want to use this as like a big breakout, because this is a track whenever I played it, because I played this track at every show I played, including the one I played with like Nasty Nasty. And it's just always the one I just choose as my last track, just because I do like to listen to this out, and it's pretty epic. Everybody's chilling. Everybody's really stoked on it. And then when it drops, it's just like it's a huge payoff. But then, after that, I'm not trying to meander on that same energy here. So kind of give it back the same thing I drop it into here, but a little bit different. Yeah, so literally the same line. And then I'm kind of switching up the sound. A lot of things different. And I think first line I synthesized with Largo, second one was Serum. So that was the balance there. Okay, and then second way I approach things, from like a DJ tool perspective. This track is pretty much that. So Mentasm, I even named it that because of the sample, because that's what everybody uses for that one sample you hear right at the beginning. The mental mentasm, or I think it's metal, but I was reading it as mental. But yeah, so pretty much it's just straight up loop, all the way up until drop. And then this weird bass line was a razor patch that I used for the rest of this track as well. So just like a one patch all the way through. And it was just like some weird bass line that I kind of accidentally wrote. And then I was like, that sounds funky. And so I just chopped it out from the MIDI and looped it. And then that's the whole loop. But yeah, whenever I've dropped this track, this is like an easy mix in on the beginning here. Like, or I can break it out, reverb it out, do whatever I want, but there's not that much low end in it that gets in the way of the track before. Also, like, snares are pretty simple here. Okay, so what's going on in this track is it's just a DJ tool. There's really not that much cohesion between it, between the sections here, but besides like the root note. And so I'm just exploiting that root note. And then my idea was like, what if I made the bass line like somebody was rapping like DMX? Like, and so that's how I was playing. I was like, wow, that works. Cool. Right. So, I mean, it's just a bunch of shit I like, in this track. It's like, I love that sample. Like this choppy bass. Like I make a lot of kind of chomper basses like that, including like the shit I, release on like Division and stuff. Um, and for the most part, like these tracks too are also kind of DJ tools. And Darkened in particular, I wrote with a concept for sure. If I could, I would get this animated into something, which is like, yeah, I mean, just like I was thinking like it was a dark entity kind of like manifesting, I guess, something like that. And I like, festers. So, but this was like all from this one modular recording. All the bass lines were just kind of added in as kind of an additive to that. And then, I wanted to kind of like veil this part here. I wanted to kind of like give a second surprise drop right here and actually drop it here, because this was supposed to be the intro. But then I added in this more ambient intro, which also allows me to build, because it does have a build up in it. Also, I don't have any shakers or tops, so I wanted to bring that here too. So, like, pretty much the concept is like it's building its way out, and then it like shows its ugly face. That's it. And it's just like indifference and complacency. Anyways, so lots of different ways to write a track for sure. Those are some ways I've done it in the past. I tried to approach it a little bit differently every time. But there is definitely a formula to all styles, for sure. Like if you wanted to achieve a techno track, there's a style and a format to that for sure. And for that as an example, I'm using it as an example because it is one of those genres where it is very formulaic. And then when you exploit that formula, it becomes a little bit more transcendent for that genre. People respect it way more. Because it shows them something they could have done, now they want to do it. Oh, peace. No worries, bro. If anybody needs to go, no worries. Okay, so let's get started here. So some phase plant. So I can take this wherever, it doesn't really need to have like too much direction right now. But I do want to take this, not the DJ tool direction to start out with, and then maybe more of like an epic kind of like build up direction, because that is definitely more of like the harder to approach directions out of the two. Hence why people do buy construction packs or like kits, like in Vengeance form, or even preset template tracks to start from, which is kind of what makes everybody kind of sound the same. But yeah, okay, so I want to make something kind of ambient, and we're going to start with kind of a Reese. So I'm going to put these two. Okay, so I want to make this kind of like the ambient kind of vibe. And also, it is good to kind of set out, excuse me, somewhat of like a idea of what you want to do, right? So if you're going to be making like hip hop, then you're going to do something at maybe a hip hop tempo or whatever. But I usually end up modulating the tempo at some point. You know, I'm just like, yeah, that could have been a grime track, but now I want it to be halftime or whatever. I can switch out the entire kick and make it a trap track um, with just a switch of tempo. But if I have like kind of like a format set up already, it gives me something to kind of pick and choose from of what the final product is going to be, because it's never going to really be finished in your eyes. Like you just have to kind of let go of it. But also it has to do exactly what you're trying to have it do. If you're just writing music for the sake of it, you know, always has some kind of emotive message to it. And it could be just you sitting down and making some, you know, random sounds and shit, and you can just like get something cool. But for the sake of right now, we're going to be a little bit more deliberate. So I think I'm going to make something kind of dark, I guess. Epic dark. It's pretty easy. So let's go like F sharp harmonic minor. Um, I guess I can choose anything, right? So let's go 500 BPM. Just kidding. You think I'm adventurous? Of course, we're doing 87 BPM. Can also get something that's paced, I guess. Sometimes I just go and do this so I can kind of like write something with the pace, so it's not too hard to just like mess with pretty quick. Can't see it, but I was bouncing to that, so I like it. This is in D. So let us make it not in D. So we're in D right now, not D sharp. Let's go up. Let's go up 4 semitones, I guess. Okay, so I mean, this is also part of the process right here. I needed something to kind of give me pace. I chose my BPM. Probably going to be making something that's kind of half-timey. And going for like epic something. I'm not going to like jinx it though, because you don't want to like set out to do like, oh, dude, I'm going to make my fucking breakthrough track right now, dude. Fucking stand by, bro. I'm going to start playing now, dude. I wasn't playing before, dude, but now, watch out, dude. Fucking started playing, dude. What I'm saying is that's not how I go about it. Okay, so I'm gonna keep developing the sound for a bit. I want to sharpen that up. I want to give it kind of like a, I don't know, I guess classic kind of flavor, where it sounds kind of like almost bandpass, but still has low end. Maybe make this, well, first I'm going to limit this. kind of just filling it out right now. Like where it's going. It's pretty grungy. I just like the way Faceplant's Sawtooth's sound just out the gate. That's my favorite thing about it. There's a lot of like favorite things besides the PM. The PM is also like amazing. But just the way these sound in comparison to like something like Serum, it's kind of night and day. So I wanna darken this up a little bit more. Moody epic or evil epic? I kind of like moody epic. I don't know. It's more like an F sharp minor vibe though. It's a little bit different. Let's get this as a sine wave 2. That's what I'm trying to do with this guy. So my goal when I'm like sitting down and like doing that loop here is I'm looking for something I can remember how to play after doing it once, because that's what Paul McCartney did. So that's what I'm going to do. I always like, just like always do that shit. So I'm going to record this now and I'm going to kind of get a vibe and then we're going to start building this out. that last one. That one like really stuck in my head. So I like the lower notes too. So I was like using that as kind of like a baseline, you know, obviously to like frame what I wanted to do on my right hand, because the right hand is going to be the melody and the earworm. So, you know, I can frame it where it's like just big chords, you know, so it's like root note on the left hand and then a third up an octave, and then go down like to the fifth, down an octave on the left hand. So it's like fourth to fifth, or I guess fifth to sixth right there. All right, so I think I'm gonna start there. Okay, I think that is the loop right there. So I'm gonna chop that. Oh, and I realized as well that I can't actually give you guys 1080p. I can't do that till like I'm partner. I can only do 720. They have spoken. So I can move it all like this. I think I want to just shift those downbeats. I'm gonna keep everything like that. Just gonna make sure that downbeat is there. Can even have that one a little bit off. All right, so what am I looking at right here and then right here? So this is the loop that I'm kind of focusing on. So what does this enable me to do now? It allows me to focus on some kind of like chord melody to fit underneath this, because this is going to be kind of like my looping melody. Phrase, but I like that it starts on this ascending line here, and then it makes it feel like this is the starting point. But it's kind of like a offset, almost polyrhythmic thing, although it is literally doing the same thing, and it is in time. So it's just gonna like shift it and give it a little bit more movement, which I like. So I'm gonna keep that, and then I'm gonna go on to the next sound here, and then we're gonna start building this out further. So I guess I could, you know, start with some type of like a longer intro. So we have a minute of time here so far, and that was just Command Shift D. I'm probably going to bring this to about 16 bars, if not 8 bars, and maybe bring in the first like intro verse. So intro verse would be section before the first drop that you have like drums and you introduce your main elements, and kind of like a, you know, like here's the sample I'm going to use, this is the vibe, blah 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 blah. Like I do that a lot on flips that I do, so it's kind of like easy to mix into from that point, and it makes the intro more playable, because if I'm going to make it a hype track, then I do want that already mixed in kind of like energy for it. And I think that'll be a super good example for Thursday's class, is we're going to do something like that, kind of like a flip or something. And it's going to be like more of a DJ track. So this one I'm probably going to make into like some dirty something, like halftime thing. But I'm probably going to use this melody. Hearing under this, because it goes bam 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 bam. So kind of like it's like a toy box of some kind. But the way the sound is sounding right now, it sounds almost like one of those hang drums. But there's no metallic timbre to it yet, which I kind of want to add a little bit of that. So I'm going to do that really quick. I'm going to go add another modulator group. And I'm actually just explaining my thought process right now, the kind of thought process I am going through to kind of like make the track happen, I guess, right now. So, you know, when I'm thinking about that stuff like by myself, I'm just like, oh, you know, it kind of sounds like the hang drum. It go blah 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 blah. I'm gonna do this, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like thinking in the back of my mind what I'm gonna do, because of what I now get inspiration from listening to this intro vibe that I'm kind of just setting up, because that really decides the whole thing. The metronome scared you. Sounds fresh. Thanks, Centura. So I want to make this more of a bell tone. So we got that higher pitch there. I'm going to go and attach that in aux form here. So now this is like a medley now of like everything we've talked about. And this is, you know, why it's kind of like a thing to know, because, you know, I'm just using this on the fly. So I don't want to think about it more than like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then I just go and do it. You know, there's no like in between, oh man, where's that patch? Shwet, I'm going to go on blah and buy blah, blah. Cool. Okay, so that has a little bit more bell tone to it. I also wanted to kind of like sound like it's resonating. So like when something resonates that's metal, it gets brighter or the pitch goes up because it's resonating faster. So that's like that blah blah blah, like the sound I'm making because I'm opening my mouth is what I'm going for. Blah blah. Like I'm going for that weird filter movement on that, which is going to happen from this envelope here. I have release on that. I want to add a little bit of that though to this cutoff here. So I'm just going to splash a little bit right there. So that sounds cool. Also, there's a ton of low end in it, so I can shelve some of that out. Then there's also a ton of mid-range. All right, so we're gonna cut somewhat sharp here, not too sharp. All right, so now we're gonna do this lower timbre here. I'm not gonna mess with that too much yet, so I guess I'll start naming this so I can stay visually organized for y'all. If I was making it by myself, obviously I am not labeling shit. That's phase plant number 50. And then I'm just like, what's that? Oh, that's that. We'll call this lead with the question mark. let's start from the beginning here. So I wanna record just some like low notes. I can draw them in, but sometimes I might, decide to add in some chords or whatever and get whatever to it. So I want to give myself the option to do that. And then I can also record this in as audio too. Sometimes I'll do that for sure. But I definitely like to finalize the piece I want to do it with if I'm going to be like more intentional with it. If I was going to do it like that and kind of like go through my process, that would be everybody would leave because I would be here for an hour. There. So I'm going to modulate into this leading tone at the end. And I decided to do that because I wanted something that kind of like moved into the next part, but it was a little bit more interesting. And so I decided on this leading tone here. So if I'm in the key of F sharp, leading tones, could be the seventh right below it. But you can also do accidentals, which in the key of like F sharp minor, G doesn't exist. So an accidental G here in order to kind of mosey its way back to F sharp. And this is something I do like if I was walking bass lines and stuff. Ableton very loud compared to voice. Sorry. Hold on. Let's get that fixed out. All right, how's this? Check, check. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Check, check. All right, that's probably better. My GPU has been kind of messing with my Motu. It's been a little bit annoying. But yeah, hopefully this is way louder than this. Make these a little bit more shakery. I'm gonna let go of these, please. Jesus. There's guests here. Please let go of the EQ. Okay, so this is my intro line here. So if anybody couldn't hear me, I was saying that I added this leading tone here to add a little bit more tension, I guess, and I decided to do that because I'm in the key of F sharp. G, it shouldn't be there, but I've decided to put it there. Makes it a little bit more interesting. Shake things up a bit, man. So that is, I guess, a compromise too, because I did want to write an F sharp minor or harmonic minor, which does have a G because it's a minor second. So we want a G sharp there. And this is a third right here. So we go 1, 3, 4. So we don't go up to the 5, which is C sharp. So 5 is a little bit too complete. So I don't like going to 5 unless that's going to be like a jumping off point to go higher, I guess. But I wanted to give a little bit more attention, so I went down from 4. So I go 1, 3, 4, 7, 2, 1. So I actually modulate down to the 7th here, go up to the minor second, which would be an accidental. So I guess a little bit of music theory too today. But I mean, that is kind of like important, I guess, if you're trying to think about this. But like I said before, like when I was showing those other tracks, I wasn't thinking about that stuff when I was doing that. So just do what sounds good, you know? I know music theory, so I know what I want from it. So I can be a little bit more deliberate. Doesn't mean I can write, you know, in Sibelius super well. You know, that's definitely like a different ballpark altogether. But as far as piano roll, you should kind of have an idea of what you want to do with it. If not, you'll definitely get an idea. And most people, you know, will say that they don't know shit about theory, but then also know how to play chords on a piano. So, you know, and this is like speaking for all those lo-fi people that say they don't know shit about theory, but then still play chords on piano. And I mean, a lot of people start like that too. And a lot of people are really talented, kind of come up that way too. It's like Wooly, Jason Wool has definitely been playing his whole life, but he hasn't like gotten formal education on jazz and piano up until, you know, like last year, I think, which is cool. Now he's like in combos and stuff and all that shit. And I actually like asked him once if he had done that and like had like a real book and all that shit. And he hadn't yet, but now he does. And so now he's like really killing it on all that stuff. And it takes people like that who have the mind naturally. It just like refines it. And then you can decide to not do anything with what you learned, but you're actually still doing something with what you learned. You're stronger and better naturally now. Which is kind of cool. And then you can also speak to other musicians and shit and tell people what to do, as opposed to like, yeah, just kind of do da-na-na-na-na, you know? And if you're going to be working in like post and shit with other producers and composers and stuff, I definitely have had to explain things like this, where it's like, hey, so about the intro melody, can you modulate blah 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 to this key? You think it's like it, but you know it's a little bit too dark. Can you not be so dark? A little bit more here. I'm gonna put in a grain delay. I want to make it sparkle. I want it to be immediate, so we're going to go in time. Okay, sweet. So we got our little motif here to kind of work with, and then we got this pacing going on here. So now what we want to do is kind of like expand on that. Move to the next part. And let's get some energy with percussion samples and some other stuff to get into the build-up. And you know, for the moment, what we're going to really be focusing on is synthesizing with synthesizers. You know, like I said, we don't have enough time for me to go and synthesize every little piece of percussion here, because that does take a fuck ton of time to get good shit. And also is something I do post more so than not. And what's cool though is like I've listened to this melody. Oh, and thanks for the bits, dude. Like I can already kind of like hear like where exactly I want to go with the drop. So it's gonna be like I'm gonna build into a bigger Reese, and I'm gonna kind of emulate this. And then build up, and then it goes like, and then I can have this line go right here. So and then I can make it like wonky. I can go whatever way. If I want to make this a main stage thing, and it has to go super wonky, and then I bring this line in on the end phrase, which would be the 4. You know, where it kind of like does all this crazy shit with all the synths and stuff, and then I bring in the yeah, all the stuff. I don't know. I'm not gonna jinx it by saying exactly what I want to do yet, and I don't like to jinx myself by doing that. This is good enough to party. So I do want to start off on kind of like a bigger foot. OTE. Nice, bro. All right, so we're gonna make a little hall kick here. Of course. With the saxophone in there too. All right, so we're going to bring in some more percussion elements here. We're going to ramp up the energy. We want to bring up the energy to the drop, which is probably going to be around like 24, or maybe here. Depending on how you want to do this, like for now, like I'm not going to go too deep on like, you know, this is when the like person does the blah, and I'm going to add in like a singer who is like blah. And I called Syra, dude. She's on her way, dude. Okay, so we're going to start with this, and then I'm going to take out... I draw the line at EQ3. I refuse to use it. I'm going to get this part right here. So this is definitely a stylistic choice, you know, 87 being a drum and bass tempo as well. Halftime D&B. It all makes sense. So that's my choice with that. I want to add some more like things that sync up with my shaker here. So we got this clap. We're going to put this on 4 on the floor. I'm going to put this way back for now. Just on the 8. So I'm going to make this into a loop just preemptively so I don't have to worry about all these chops. Make sure it's perfect. We're going to go twice that, I guess, 8th notes. We're building with this too. This is gonna be our washout. So we're gonna wash this shaker out with the vocoder, and I like doing this. All right, so we're going to open up this 8 right at the end, the way I just did it there manually. And we'll just sweep it open. Audio went bad. Sorry, dude. Sorry, y'alls. Hold on. Let me save this. How's the audio now? Is my voice still intelligible? It was just Ableton. Like my title? Song. All right, let's go up on buffer here. How's it sound? Perfect. Awesome. So we can get more volume. Okay, so right here I can do a couple different things. I can break it out, and that was just Command I to go and do that. I can break it out where it's like, you know, gives me space to go and showcase a Reese here, and then I push it up a little bit more. Overall, though, I need to bring in a kit and start getting that together for this. So let's go there. I'm thinking something a little bit more a little bit heavier. So I'm thinking. Might use that one right there. Really like this one. a good thing to have whenever you're, starting up stuff is like quick, patches for making your shit loud. So like this is kind of my quick fix for a drum mix if I'm just going for a rough mix. Rough mix should always be like the performance on the way in, so you shouldn't like really be trying to like overdo it too much yet. Make sure I know exactly where it is. All right, so we can start kind of picking up the pace here. Because we're going to drop it into halftime. It can also go, drum bass or whatever. Doesn't matter. So just by default, we know we're going to get faster over time. And this is where we get twice as fast. Here, let's get twice as fast. And then let's double that up. And then we'll can go faster than this, but usually what I do is I start to filter it out. But let's actually just try faster for now. Let's Command A. Do that. Good to go. You can also go and warp it back or whatever. See, way easier to do it this way. So we're going to get auto filter on this, and we're going to preemptively mix it. This is something you should definitely do. This is also another deciding factor for a lot of people on picking and choosing tracks. Like how much low end is in your buildup. That's pretty crucial. This is going to be the sorry, I'm just kind of like measuring where I'm going to put this here. So yeah, this is definitely going to be the kick that I'm going to use for the entire track. So we're going to also sidechain some stuff here too. And with this, I think I might just use a regular sidechain on this one. So we're going to go sidechain here. Open up the big boom. Okay, so we just want to get a little bit of it here. So I'm high passing it here as well. I'm going to pull down this threshold. Then I'm going to automate this too. So we got it on bells here. So we're going to automate more compression. And then we're going to let it up right here. So we have to actually back it off in order to hear it at this point here. There's something like this. So we bring this in here, and I'm gonna start to make a reese now. It's gonna be the main attraction for that drop. Okay, cool. And thank you for the follow. So here is where we're gonna like kind of leave that, I guess. And now we're gonna go into the main reese. Just type in reese. No, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna synth one. So let's just go phase plan again. And this, I don't want it to be the same patch. I do have an idea of what I want for it. Okay. Nobody panic. I'm going to find it. There it is. Okay. So this one is going to be a little bit more. A little bit more harmonic and kind of funky. So we're going to start duo saw. All right, I'm going to do a couple things I usually start with. So I like to put this on the end here. So let's go ladder filter on the end. Let's get a mod group going. So group, let's go wavetable. We're going to add a wavetable to this too. So let's go something FME. Not really looking for growls. Let's go this one. And then on this, let's do, actually I want the sawtooth, but I want something a little bit more textured. So that looks cool because it's kind of modulating in sync here. Like sync. Oh, it's sync window saw. That's why. Let's give it some glide. So we got full reesing now. It's reesing. Global unison needs a little work. This is a new function. Okay, so let's go to a sub oscillator now, and I'm gonna group this. We're gonna send sub. Let's send it to lane 3 because that's gonna be where the saturator lives. Starts with an F. Got it. That's cool. Oops. All right. So we got a Reese. Okay, so I want a little bit of movement on that. So I'm experimenting with different sounds here. So I kind of like the sawtooth in there, but now I'm really liking this combo right here. So I'm going to add another envelope here. I'm going to put this onto the phase modulation. Pull this down a little bit. I don't want too much. And we're going to get this right here. I'm going to have it come in kind of gently. All right, so I kind of want to send this into a parallel modulator here. So I do like the texturing that's happening on this though. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double it up, and then we're going to copy this over. So option drag, and I can just send this to lane 2 here, and then I'm going to copy another mod over here. Then I'm going to add an LFO, and we're going to modulate that, and I'm going to put it on sync. And then I'm going to start modulating these cutoffs here. All right, cool. So we got those moving around, and then I want some type of frequency shifter. So we got a frequency shifter right there, and this is going to be modulated in parallel, and then I can add more filtering. So let's take out some of the low ends because that's going to get in the way pretty easily. And then I can add something else here. Maybe a ring mod. I can add a resonator. I can add disperser. Probably wouldn't do much here. Ensemble could actually work because ensemble is like detuning everything, so that could be actually pretty cool. So let's use that to spread it out too. Cool. Okay, so now let's start refining a little bit more. I'm going to add a punch envelope here, so we're going to modulate the pitch. So let's modulate shift. Let's get that on here as well. We need to modulate the modulator, and then we'll modulate the sub oscillator too. I assign 1 to phase. Which one? Okay, so this is actually probably going to be good in a resonator here. All right, so we're going to get this bass line now to kind of like emulate what it's doing over here. So let's go up an octave right here. So we're going to do this pretty much for all of these here. I'm going to go to, I think it's a 6 right there. And then, so I'm going to speed this up double after I'm done writing this in here. Let's go to a 5th here. Then go to F sharp right at the end. And then let's speed this up. Okay, so we want to consolidate that first and then speed it up. And then let's just drag and drop this here. And now let's introduce it. So we need to kind of move into the next spot here. I want this to drag out here. So we got this part here. That's going to be kind of like the backbone of it. And I actually want to bring it in just a little bit more as well. And now we're going to bring this in from the other side. We got this impact here. Let's bring up the energy again. So we need some like reverse somethings too. Let's get some vocal. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions if you have any questions about stuff. Pretty sure we're going to have time to bring this to the drop, and then I'm going to be able to get into that and then hopefully be able to bring it to the next section. Obviously, writing a really well thought out track in an hour is pretty rough if you're trying to make it also explain it too. Okay, so got that there. I was thinking about Vocaloid, but no, I don't want it to crash anything right now. So not those. Those are probably not going to work.
Come on outside and I'll take your picture.
Trying to find a way to...
All right, so that's good just because of the tonality of it. Not really looking for the words. I just want the tonality. So we're going to wash it out. Okay, freeze flatten, we got the thing. So we can use this in a bunch of different ways now. It's going to be in here. Goes ba wah doo. Okay, so I'm going to write that. So it's like a double buildup. So it could just literally drop right here, but just to give it a little bit more just energy and also a little bit more theme, gives me more space to do stuff here. I could even add like a real vocal if I wanted to in this spot. This I want to kind of bring up and bring out a lot more than the intro too, so I don't even want to mess with that. I just want to let's get just a wider response here. Can you? Jeez. Some of these highlight things are just so annoying. to bring it up closer here. Okay, so I don't want to do this whole line here. Let's do, consolidate this. I think ba ba ba. This needs more backbone still. So we're gonna run it through some trash. Let's do this all after that. Okay, so it goes ba da da. Ba ba da da da. Let's go crazy. They're all in key. I like it. Let's go other way. I like it so much, I'm going to put it right here. Let's do that. Okay, so now let's get a drum beat. Go bum bum, got to do ba ba, but got to do boo boo, got to do ba ba, but got to do boo boo, got to do. snare is still not achieved. So that's why I have this little thing, auto maps, just so I can go do stuff like this. Okay, now I'm going to tie this together with this. So the way I like to do that cleanly is with the sidechain gate. So let's go and set that up here, and then so I want this to be like a weird build-up thingy. We're going to do that in a second. And then it's going to become a piece of this track. It's going to be like this kind of rolling top that just keeps the momentum going. Would that little bit at the end bass line be the turnaround? Yes, definitely. So just like turn around the kind of melody line on itself. So we need this here, and then we're going to spread this out by bars here, and we can speed up by half notes here. We'll keep that like that. We can even make it slower here then. So we'll keep it at 2 bars there. Okay, so we're going to pitch this up. I don't want it to be too much in the way. And then we're also going to give a little bit of a showcase here. So I want to give it hang time. So just like drop everything out. So we have this guy doing its thing. Whoops. Okay, so we're going to bring that in on the second half here to give it a little bit more movement and stuff. And then I want a little drum roll. Let's get a fill. Keep on looking at my plugins for samples. It's because I'm doing a lot of stuff right now and I'm trying to do it as fast as possible. And also make it not trash. Ooh, I like this. Beautiful. This is why I keep this big house sample pack around. You're all right. You can stay. Hey, he's all right. Maybe give it a little bit more punch here. Sweet. All right, so I want this to move out of the way in a lot of spots. So now we're gonna do some automation on this. And for the most part, like I kind of know how I want to build out this track now. Just from, you know, laying out this entire intro here, got a lot of shit to work with. You know, and I started pretty methodically. You know, I was like, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm trying to do something halftime. I know how to make a halftime beat, so that's not gonna be a problem. You know, it's just all about how do I convey like a very cohesive, you know, chord structure and all that stuff. So it feels epic. I don't necessarily have to have a concept of like, this is the reckoning of asteroid number 3, you know, some kind of weird esoteric drum and bass naming. It couldn't be that at some point, but right now it's just song. So it is a song. There is melody to it. It has a key. It does build up. Now listening to the sound again, I want to add it into this part. So I want to just like, I just want to get it down. So I'm going to resample it. I'm going to solo this. Whoops. I'm going to start from over here, not from the beginning. Definitely got some side chaining in there, but that's fine. So I want to get this part right here, and I'm going to speed this up. So we're going to go just shift trim. So this could be like a constant like loop in here. Just want to make sure I trim this back in kind of a orderly fashion here. So we go all the way here. That's chill. That's fine. Okay. Then this is going to be kind of like a texture on the top. So I'm probably not going to leave this looping like this, but we're just going to hear it because I want to hear it with the rest of the track, so it kind of makes sense the whole time. One second. My computer decided. Holy fuck. God. I hate technology, dude. So much. So absolutely much. My keyboard stopped working, my mouse stopped working, and then it just blasts me. Fun. So I just want it right here. So that's going to be the phrasing with this. So we're going to put how do you know when to pull away and when to add to it? That's a good question because you know a lot of people don't know when to start doing or stop doing something. So here's a good stop doing something point. You found 8 bars worth of good bass line, and I planned this out, so I was just like, "Bah, da, da, da." So I was like listening to it, and I was thinking about what I was going to do this whole time. And I kind of decided on this, and I was like, maybe I'll do like this thingy at the end here, and I do that a lot with MIDI, as I just shoot it all around the key scale to just do things. So once you find that good 8-bar loop on your drop, try to make it more interesting or do stuff for the second time around that kind of gives it more energy or whatever, like maybe no cutout there, bring in all this stuff here, and then no fill. Could even be a fill into this part here. I can do something else. So, and then also right here, it's actually a decent idea to bring the fill in at the end of this phrase here, and then just kind of like showcase everything around that. So, but yeah, so like, then when would I stop? This is when I'd stop. Say when I'm like, every time I go and make a track on stream and I'm just like, okay, first drop done. And then I kind of like, I'm done. That's when I stop. I actually always stop after first drop when I'm making my tracks because I don't want to overdo it. I also want to come back to it with a new perspective because again, everything is objective. So you want to make sure that you're as objective again about your own shit. So you're not actually making wrong choices just because you're oversaturated with it. Say mix wise or whatever else. Okay. So I did want to make one more piece here. So we're going to do some sampling stuff. I'm going to consolidate this. We're going to speed that up. I'm going to make this complex before we go and do that. And then we're going to go and speed that up again here. And then I'm going to speed that up again here. Then we're going to zoom in. I like this new little key command. It's Z, and it just zooms in on whatever clip that you have highlighted. Z. Z. Okay. I'm going to put that there. What's this carryover coming from? This? Oh, sick. Perfect. All right, so what I'm going to do with this now is either I can cut it all the way off. This is going to clean up this whole section here. Or I can just filter it all the way out. For now, I'm just going to turn it off. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing again here. Just booping it. And then we're going to use this complex again. We're going to go into transpose on this one. Back in the clip. in transpose, right clicks. And then I'm going to start pitching up where it gets faster. Right here, my bad. I'm actually going to do that to this too. So now I'm just cleaning up side chains. This is the kick. Perfect. So we're going to go and do that right here. And I'm actually going to do that. And then I'm going to do that. So we got the points. So it goes right back to where I set it, where I liked it. All right. All right, so we're going to bring this back here. That was actually weird. Should copy that over. Oh, automation lock is on. My bad. So we're going to do this here. Automate that in. And then I also want to add some auto pan. And we're going to automate that in. I can have it speed up too. And let's bring the phase back all the way to 0 so we can tremolo it. All right. This is actually pretty good. I'm actually really digging this. But also, you know, I had a clear head when I wrote it, and I'm being intentional with it, so, you know, it should come out somewhat decent. But yeah, so throw out any questions you got right now for anybody that's left, for anybody else, you know, who's watching this after. Feel free to ask questions, you know, in Discord or whatever. Just send them through. But yeah, hopefully, yeah, this gives anybody who's a little bit confused on how to kind of like start structuring shit a little bit more of an idea. Say if this was like a deep dub track, you know, this could very well still start somewhat like this. You would definitely just have more deep dub elements, and then maybe a little bit more of a dub style track. Because I write a ton of like deep shit as well. And I definitely like to make really big intros for them too. And if anybody likes like Samba or anybody like that, like encrypted audio, they usually have very ambient kind of like melodic intros as well. Samba is definitely more like that. Would you end the drop there or have a second part? And how do you usually approach varying a drop so it feels familiar but it isn't just the same and progresses the audience? Okay, so I have this bass line going on this first 8 bars here. I was talking about before, like how to make this a little bit more interesting. And that would come from modulating this patch a little bit. Maybe I add a little bit more to like the modulation here. Like pretty simple if you just go and macro some stuff, and this is how I always do it in phase plant because it's just way easier. So I just go and macro it for like the B section, or like A2 is what I would call it, because we talked about what EABO format was, which was intro, A section, B section, outro. Because this is like at 87, this is a 16 bar loop or 8 bar loop, so it is 16 bars. So you gotta, when you look at like a halftime tempo, you gotta look at 8 bars as 16 bars, because I wouldn't want to continue on this exact rhythm here longer than that. And then when I build it up, say like this, I'm gonna want to try something different. So let's go and actually do that. So let's go into B section here. So this is B section of drop. So I have my rhythm here, so I can try out some other stuff. And to your question, easiest way to make it interesting but different is to put it in key and play different notes. Especially if you're gonna do something that's kind of like drum and bass and shit. Stay in key, play different notes, and usually it's something that's very repetitive and melodic. Like, even if it's like some really hardcore jump up, it's still doing. So it has like a phrase and then it loops the end of the phrase. So you can just like step into it as fast as possible. So let's try something a little bit more atonal here. So I want to try something atonal. So I'm going to go F sharp. And we have this turnaround on the 4. This is what I've been doing for all of these things. So I have this little turnaround right here where I'm always just going up an octave or something like that. So let's do that. So we have the macro too that I wanted to modulate. Thanks for the follows, y'all. Okay, so we're gonna modulate. Oh dang! Thanks for the raid, Oksami. Appreciate you. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to add to this macro. So I have phase modulation here. I'm gonna move this up. So we have a bunch of phase modulation going into